the Delta 1911.
There's a lot of different military 1911s, but amongst the most mythical are the Deltas.
In large part because there's a limited amount of information on them.
Today we're taking you behind the curtain for a real-world perspective of the Delta 1911s as we also celebrate the launch of the Alchemy Custom Weaponry Q2 resto-mod, the Delta 1911. Welcome to the show, everyone. Good to have you here. What an exciting day. Isn't it fun launching a new gun?
It's awesome.
New gun.
Well, you know.
A new gun from the past.
A new gun that's an old gun, kind of, in a way. Yes, it is exciting.
So the video kind of evolved a little bit over time. We started talking about what we're going to do, and you know, I knew the Delta gun was coming out, obviously, and I was like, yeah, we'll do a video on that. And as we got to thinking, we're like, yeah, I mean, obviously we'll take you on a tour and we'll do that kind of stuff. But in many ways, what would be interesting is within a video on Delta 1911s, if we could actually bring in a real world perspective on Delta 1911.
Absolutely.
So probably half the video today is going to be spent kind of looking at them from a historical perspective. Mike will join us here in a handful of minutes, and I think you guys will probably appreciate hearing some of the stuff that, you know, it's just a little bit hard to find info on. So you get a little bit of a history, and of course we'll take you on the resto-mod and all that kind of stuff. So, but I guess the good news is the resto-mod is here.
Resto-mod's here. And you know, when you pitched this idea of Mike talking about about the Delta guns, to me, I really loved it because, you know, yeah, you know, we gotta, you know, move some pistols, you know, as the guy that works for the company. But Alchemy's big thing that we bring to the table that most companies don't is the appreciation of the history of these guns. So when you were like, dude, what if a real Delta dude talks about his time with 1911s and Delta? I was like, sold, done. Think that's great. But let's say, you know, you're not familiar with this concept. We've done one other video, but maybe you're new here. So Alchemy Custom Weaponry, we make badass 1911s. We just do. Hand-fit, semi-custom 1911s. We have a great line of classically inspired guns. This particular one, of course, is a resto mod. What's that mean? Well, 4 times a year, we release a limited edition pistol. These guns are usually kept fairly close to the chest. Most of the time, it's on a drop basis. I know a lot of people don't like that, but I think it's fun. So we're going to continue that. And what we do is we take a look at guns back through history. Sometimes we kind of take our own spin on those guns from history. Sometimes we kind of try to do a faithful recreation with just some more modern features that make them just a little more shootable or a little more enjoyable to shoot, you know, in a more modern, practical sense. This gun actually, funny enough, was pretty close. I mean, I'm not going to say it's a one-to-one clone. That's not what we do. We make inspired guns. Yeah. But it's pretty close.
Yeah. Well, and as I'm sure we'll get into within history, it's like there wasn't just one configuration of what a Delta gun is. It wasn't like a, you know, like a M45A1 or something. For sure. where you're just like, well, yeah, that was a gun. It was like, these are kind of a bunch of custom guns.
Right. Absolutely.
So, which is going to be interesting. So, a lot to cover today, and we will go ahead and jump into it. All right, everyone. Welcome to some historical perspective on Delta 1911. So, actually, a repeat guest of the channel at this point. Sure, yeah. We've done this might be number 3. Yeah, we've done a handful at this point. But anyway, Mike Pannone, I'll let Mike introduce himself. But we really at this point just become friends over the course of years. And yeah, Mike's also teaching the 1911 class we got coming up with Patreon, which is both a selfish plug, but also going to be a lot of fun because everyone's got to run some thumb safety guns for a couple days. But I guess so I don't butcher it, maybe just give us background and take it wherever you want to go.
Yeah, quick. I started out in the Marine Corps, started as an infantryman and then reconnaissance, and I spent 6 years in the Corps. Then I left and I went to the Army, went to SF, and spent about 6-7 years in SF, and then I went to first SFOD. I went to Delta and was there about 3 years, a little over 3 years, and I had a breaching injury, lost my right eye, and medically retired, and then started doing high-risk contracting stuff overseas for when the war kicked off until 2005. 2005 was in the asymmetric warfare group as a ground combatant doing counter ID stuff, so that was the last of my operational stuff. But yeah, that's pretty much it. And then I've had my own company since 2009. I was the lead instructor for Viking Tactics for a couple of years, and then I started my own company.
Yeah, and air marshal stuff.
Yeah, I did that. I helped stand up the air marshal program. I helped stand up Triple Canopy. I was the first project manager hired. I helped stand up the asymmetric warfare group and participated in their selection process and their training. So it's there's a bunch of stuff.
All kinds of fun stuff.
Yeah,
all kinds of fun stuff.
Yeah, pretty cool.
All right, so if we kind of kick off Delta 1911s, right, which is such kind of a broad term, because we'll kind of dive in that there was no formal Delta 1911, but kind of a variety of different things you might see. But in terms of like timeline when you would see these, because I mean, as mentioned in like the tour of the gun, like this is a bit of a sort of older gen Delta,
an earlier Delta spec, yes.
Mm-hmm. But like, what's the ballpark time frame that 1911s are actually being used in the unit?
I would say it's starting at the inception of the unit, 77, all the way predominantly until the first year and a half, maybe 2 years of the GWAT. And then guys started carrying different guns for different particular operational requirements. Guys started carrying lighter guns with higher capacities and 9mm Glocks and stuff like that, just because their primary was their rifle. And that was, having that as a backup was exactly that, a backup. So they just wanted to cut weight. And then certain issues with, like I said, weight, capacity, and reliability in a heavily, sand-induced environment. It didn't lend itself to the guns that we had specifically, because they were very tight tolerance guns. Yeah. They were legitimately match grade guns. All of our guns had CART national match barrels, all that. So.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's dive into the kind of the no-show, and we talked. We had a call obviously prior to this, so I'm kind of bringing some of that stuff up, but effectively the notion, we say Delta 1911. Mm-hmm. Essentially, the idea there really was not a standardized Delta 1911, because at that level of, operator level, to my understanding, hey, there's different base guns that are being customized in different ways, and
you had latitude to do different stuff. Generally speaking, when you went to OTC, the operator training course, you got a 5-inch gun with an SNA magwell, Bomar adjustable, rear sight that's blacked out, and if I'm not mistaken, it was a black front sight, just a straight up bullseye gun. And then once you walked across the hall, then you got a tritium front sight. Usually some guys would get tritium fronts and rears. But the guns were, like almost virtually identical on either side, just maybe a different front sight. They all came with, had to have 3.5 pound trigger. So, and those would shoot. And with the amount that we shot was absurd relative to what people, like people that aren't competition shooters understand. Like we shot a lot. You could shoot.
What's like a round count you're putting on a gun?
I mean, I would say in 6 months of OTC for me and guys that I hung with, like on my little clique, 50,000 rounds.
Jesus
Holy crap!
Yeah, I mean we shoot on the weekends. Once you're cleared to shoot on the weekends, we'd shoot 1,000 rounds a day.
Holy crap!
So, it's like it was, and there wasn't really a restriction. Like if you're getting better, you're getting better. Right?
Yeah.
Not like they're going to chastise you for training more. So yeah, they got a ton of rounds on them, and the guns were extraordinarily well built. I mean, you'd snap a safety in half every once in a while, but in thousands of rounds of 230 grain, full power Winchester, match ammo. So yeah, they performed really well.
But I mean, obviously we're talking about hand-picked guns at this stage of the game.
Yeah.
Which is also, I think at least to my rough historical understanding, hey, it's part of the reason. I mean, even you look at like the Mark 23 program, and it's like, hey, we essentially want this bomb-proof thing that when something breaks, it's a drop-in part. Yeah. Versus something breaks on your hand-fit 1911, it's like that's going to a smith.
Yeah, exactly. And that was one of the drawbacks was replacement parts and all had to be fitted. But the truth is, the guns took an unbelievable pounding and ran. I mean, I remember seeing guys shooting. We had 3 plate racks like in a row, and guys shooting plate racks, and we would all do it. Like see who can shoot 3 plate racks in a row clean the fastest. And so your gun would be smoking out. You'd see guys put a gun in a water fountain and it'd be sizzling and shaking water off it, and then load it back up and shoot it. And still shoot, inch and a half groups at 25.
Yeah.
Like the guns, Cart National match barrels, Caspian slides and frames. The quality of the parts was exceptional. There wasn't anything you could buy better in the industry at that point in time. And so they were made by some of the best gunsmiths in the world with the best parts in the world. And so the level of durability and reliability. I mean, outside of introducing sand into them, I heard people talk about 1911s for years and 2011s currently. And it's actually a super reliable platform. That reliability is based on the tolerances. Like in World War II, all those guns could be cannibalized. You could take every single part, and you could take 100 guns, take them apart, mix up all the parts, make 100 guns again, and they all had to work. Mm-hmm. And so, like, people don't realize how actually, interchangeable all the parts are. It's been a modern fallacy that everything has to be fitted. If you want them to be extraordinarily accurate, yes. If you want them to be 3 inches at 25, no. So that's just, I did a bunch of stuff with Colt, so I actually saw all the requirements that they had for 1911s and World War II, so I actually know.
Yeah. So in terms of, like, you said there's some Caspian stuff in there. I think there were some Colt guns?
Yes. The older guns were Colt guns, and you could always tell them they had no front cocking serrations. They usually had fixed sights, a fixed rear sight that had to be, they had to adjust it, change out the front sights. Oh, I need a higher, I need a lower, all that. But some of the older guns were Colts. Actually, all of the older guns until a certain point when they started just saying, "Listen, we're going to buy Caspians." But if you research any of the metallurgy on the original World War II Colts, it's phenomenal. On the slides and stuff are like there's like some alien space metal or some shit, but they were unbelievable. I've got one. I've got a Ithaca slide that I want to find an actual good condition, World War II-ish frame and build a period correct gun. But the metal is hard enough that a guy that I know that built me a custom Browning high power P35 said, make sure that you go to a really good gunsmith because you'll destroy your gun because it'll eat up bits trying to cut dovetails and all that. It's that hard. So I don't know what the metal is, but I know it's alien space metal and that they don't use it anymore. But yeah, you saw old Colts, you saw the Caspians, and as they moved away from the original Colts that came out of a little spiral, barrel kind of thing. Have you ever seen those ones? It's a big tube, and there's a bunch of 1911s in it all the way around. I saw them in the Philippines early on. Okay. We actually broke 2 of them open to run a pistol course, and they were brand new World War II Colts from because I think they stopped making 1911s in 43 or 44 or something like that. They just didn't make any more pistols. They had so many of them, but a lot of them were sent over to the Philippines, which is why it's a huge 1911 culture as well. But we open them up, and there's a spiral, like a little spiral freaking bench that just there's 1911s all the way around. So we opened those up, and I remember shooting them. Every one of them worked. Every one of them actually had a very decent trigger. There's no scratch in it. They were just probably 4 pounds. Yeah. And every one of them, the sights were regulated properly for 25. Yeah, and they had the little rounded one, so like elevation, you'd be a little higher, but if you strung them, you'd string them up and down, but you should center mass at 25 yards, which is pretty impressive.
Super cool.
Yeah.
Super cool.
So one of the things that always strikes me with Delta specifically, but also their 1911s, is that the Delta shooting culture is unlike anything else in the world.
Yeah.
And so you've set up your tools to shoot unlike anyone else in the world. I've seen obviously videos and some shooting demonstrations by Delta guys, and a lot of there's obviously a kind of a bullseye-esque history there, at least a culture there, and so kind of I know that we talked about this on the phone, like adjustable sights, which a lot of people don't think about for combat guns. That's a big deal for a guy like a Delta guy shooting these guns. Yeah,
because you want to maximize the capability of the pistol, and it's going to be limited by, obviously, first it's going to be your skill, but second it's going to be your vision, and then third is going to be your sighting system. Like if you can't have a refined sighting system on the gun, it's going to be hard for you to maximize your skill and your vision. And so that's why we went to the Bomar adjustable sights. There was, aside from the bullseye part of it, there's a mentality in that organization that it's like we are going to maximize every tool we have. Every tool we have, we want we want to be able to perform at its mechanical capability, its best mechanical capability. And once we recognize what that is, then if we don't have the skills to maximize that, we'll push that. We'll push our skills to be able to. But there's only so much you can do with, you know, a fixed sight on the back of a, you know, on the back of a 1911. And so that was the advent. Guys started realizing while shooting with competitive shooters, you know, we had sport shooters come in like Rob Latham, and Jerry Barnhart and Mike Voigt and Frank Garcia and a bunch of guys, and they still do. We started taking from the sports side things that we knew worked and that were demonstrated to have worked, which is also another thing with the adjustable sights. People say they're not durable enough. But then I remember being on the range with Rob Latham and talking to him, and it's like, how often do your sights break? He's like, I can't remember. Like, I mean, Bomar makes a good product, and they put him on his gun. And I mean, if anybody shoots the crap out of a 1911, it's Rob Latham. So it's like, like if that guy can't remember the last time his sight broke, it's like,
sure.
Yeah, I mean, that kind of says it all. And so it definitely, we were definitely trying to put a sighting system on it that could maximize the precision that we could apply that tool. And then we had to learn the skills to make sure that we were living up to that. But yeah, that was, I think that was at the beginning of people looking at adjustable sights.
Would it also depend on the load that you're using, or was it always the same load? Maybe
we were shut. You know, there were specialty loads for different stuff. That's something different. But everybody pretty much shot 230 grain Winchester match, full power ammo. So it's we just wanted to maximize that.
Yeah,
and that's what the guns did. And same with the having we had cart national match barrels and stuff like that, which were phenomenally accurate, but they're also really durable. You hundreds of thousands of rounds through them, and they still worked. Like again, I can remember asking Rob Latham how often he changes his barrel, and he said, if the group starts to open up, I'll change the barrel, but usually the legs on it will break off before the groups get bad. Which I've never done on a 1911. I've never broken the legs off the bottom of a barrel. Yeah. So that takes some work.
Okay, everyone, here we are. And what we're going to do on the range today, we're going to have a bit of good old-fashioned shooting competitions.
Cool. Yeah.
Because you never know. Delta could be watching this, and they might be recruiting.
They might say, we need this 40-something-year-old ginger.
Exactly right. Because if they operate in Ireland, I can blend in. You, however, not so much. That said, if they storm the beaches of Normandy again, you'll fit right in.
That's right.
All right, so what we're going to do on the first drill here, we're going to go bill drill, center mass A-zone, which is, frankly, fairly tough to see in the lighting conditions.
Yeah.
Almost impossible to see. Slide lock reload, 2 to the head. And we will score based on time and misses and all that bullshit. We'll try to think as competition shooters here. Okay, guys, sorry, we're going to do take 2 here. Had a little bit of flub on the first one. Old mag, just doing weird shit. So anyway, we're going to run this again. Everything was technically in, but we're going to run it again. So this will be your first time seeing the drill. All right, here we go.
Shooter ready? Are you shooter ready?
If I stay in silence, it means because I'm dialed the fuck in.
Okay, lock in. Stand by. Quite frankly, some absolutely fantastic shooting. 8.64.
I think we got a clean run here, boys.
Oh, for sure. Not even close.
The money run right
That was
there.
great. That was actually a fantastic shooting on your part.
So what was that?
8.64.
8.64. I think that is very beatable, but it's not a gimme either.
Huh. Let me see the gun.
True to scoring here, given that we're actually going to have competition. So a miss counts as a second, correct?
Sure.
That's how it works. And,
yeah.
You know, so it's like, hey, if you do this in 7 seconds, but you got 2 out, it's actually 8 seconds. So 8.64 is our time.
Okay.
All right. Pressure's on. Here we go. Shooter ready.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. .663 and clean. Man, look at old speed machine over here. Fucking Jeff Gordon over there.
Don't you ever call me Jeff Gordon again, son.
Was he a good driver?
Don't you ever.
Was he a good driver?
Don't ever bring up Jeff Gordon to me again.
He's fast.
Not after what happened in 2002.
I thought he was fast. Oh, fast speed car driver.
Speed car?
Speed car driver.
What is speed car?
Speed car driver.
All right, folks, let's get right into the Delta 1911 from Alchemy Custom Weaponry. We're going to kind of start off with the big thing, and that is a black over green finish. This is a classic Delta that usually if you ask somebody like, hey, imagine a Delta gun, this is pretty typical.
Combo.
Yeah, this is pretty typical. For the sights, we went with a blacked out front, which was very common on the Delta guns, at least of this era. Now, it's important to note this is an early spec Delta gun.
Yeah.
So we'll get into kind of why that is in a second, but this is an early spec Delta gun. For the sights, a blacked out front, and we have a Bomar. Oh, this is a Ken sight, but a Bomar style rear. The difference being that this is a buried Bomar.
Which, elaborate.
Yep, so most of the time when you see an Alchemy or most Bomar style sights, the sight blade hangs off the back of the pistol. Now it hangs off at different variations, but typically it's either flush with the back of the pistol or it hangs off the back of the pistol to some degree.
Okay.
These were set into the slide. You see how there's actually meat of the slide here? Yeah. And that was done to help protect that rear sight blade. Because, of course, these are adjustable sights.
Yeah.
You know, so, and these are dudes who are doing some pretty hardcore shit.
Yeah.
So you need to have good protected sights. Now, you might now say, hey, well, why not just have a fixed sight? Which there were fixed sight options for the Delta guns. Again, we'll get kind of into that later. But the one thing that stands out about Delta among any other fighting force in the world is that they are crazy shooters.
Yeah. Those boys shoot.
Like they are, it's not even funny, like how good they are at shooting. And so a lot of them early on really, really loved having adjustable sights for various reasons, but adjustable sights are something that you see very commonly on Delta 1911s.
And also, in case anyone's like, hang on here, you're saying black front sight, ours is not.
Oh, it's painted. Yeah, here's the deal.
Just so you're not
I can't really pick up a black front sight well myself, so I painted the front sight. I actually do that on most of my black.
Yeah,
front
so don't
sight
worry,
guns.
yours will come black.
Yours
Ours
will
just
come black.
Happens
Yes.
to have some paint on it right now.
So moving down the gun here, we have typical GI style frame. Again, I'm going to get into that in just a second. Another thing that was very common on the Delta guns, of course, was an ambi safety. You just saw that, and it was an early Wilson-esque ambi safety, which we've actually used a Wilson ambi safety that is appropriate here. And I think that's pretty cool. You know, we could have just done one of our ambi safeties, but I actually think that it would have lost a little bit if we did. So I'm really happy we went with the Wilson ambi safety. Obviously a beaver tail grip safety, which the original Delta guns did have for the most part. So the magwell is an arched mainspring housing. Not my favorite by all means. I mean, I really don't point well with an arched mainspring housing myself, but we pulled a lot of this gun from the Vickers guide. So while this isn't a one-to-one from the gun in the Vickers guide,
it's pretty close.
There are a lot of things on this gun like that, and it's kind of a unique thing, so we kind of went with that into a magwell. These were really common. I believe they used Smith & Alexander magwells originally. That would make sense. So, and then I know a lot of folks, there's a lot of guys at home and they're probably saying, oh, well, you know, your stocks. Well, they wouldn't call them stocks, honestly. They'd say grips. Your grips, you know.
I'd be that guy.
Yeah, you are that guy. Your grips don't, you know, that's a cheap gun. Your grips don't do the magwell. No, this is legitimately how a lot of these guns did not have magwell cut stocks at this time period. That really wasn't a thing you saw.
Right.
And these are actually cool enough. Funny enough, I really think these are actually really cool. These are Harrott's hardballer stocks.
No shit.
Which were, by the way, the original stocks that Delta used. Like, again, during this time period.
That's actually very cool.
Harrott's has, and I wish that there was a way we could recreate them because it'd be cool to have, but there isn't, effective way to do it. But they have like a U.S. military packaging that these would have came in. You can find them on eBay. They're pretty cool.
Super cool.
Yeah, so Harrott's hardballer stocks, and of course, kind of, in my opinion, the hallmark of a Delta gun. If you said two things that make a Delta gun, I'd say buried Bomar, 20 LPI front strap.
Yeah.
And let me tell you something, dude. That right there will separate the
man grip.
That will separate the meek from the mild. right there. And I think it's fabulous. I love a 20 LPI.
When people are like, and people even do this on like, metal grips on certain 2011s, they're like, oh, it's too aggressive. I'm like, why? Like what's your, like, just toughen up a little, guys. Like, I mean, some guys, it's like, I love, especially on 45, right, where you got a little bit of ass behind it, and you let go and you look at your hand and you see some LPI in your hand, and you're just like, that's cool.
I agree. And I'm a huge 20 LPI guy. That's actually something I fight with my boss on. I'm trying to get 20 LPI to be a standard for Alchemy. Unfortunately,
you're not the boss.
Well, I'm not the boss. You're right. So I typically lose that conversation.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that's the lower half of the gun, and man, I just love that 20 LPI. God, I love it.
Super cool.
All right, and probably my favorite part of doing a resto mod has to be markings. We take a lot of pride at Alchemy Custom Weaponry of trying to do markings right. And this gun is actually one where we really took it to the next level because we not only did slide markings, which of course we've done plenty of that, but we also did a lot of frame markings. And that is really where you start to tie in all the little details and tell the story. So for the slide, we actually went for a National Match marked slide. So of course that has the angled cock insertions, the National Match numbers here, and then Colt actually had a small roll mark on this side. Of course, it says Alchemy Custom Weaponry, not Colt.
Duh.
Right, exactly. But these were very, very common. And I actually was telling you about this earlier because I kind of had a crash out when we were talking about old 1911s and heat treating slides and stuff, and people didn't really quite understand what I was saying. Well, the original GI 1911s, which the early Delta guns were built on, did not have properly full heat-treated slides.
Sure.
So when you are when you have a shooting regiment like Delta does, which is a lot,
aggressive,
crazy,
yeah,
those slides are. It's just a matter of time.
Yeah.
And
eventually something's cracking.
Right. A lot of these guns were upfitted with these National Match hard slides, are what they're called, and a lot of them have a lot more material, so they can be fit to the gun as well to allow you a better fit. And that's what we went with on this gun. I think, again, fabulous. I love the National Match slide anyways. Like, that's just a cool thing. And I've got several custom guns that have those. And I just, every time I'm like, wow, that is a cool little deal. But really, again, what kind of ties everything together and what I'm so happy we went for is we actually went to, like, some of the markings that would have been on actual Delta guns that were built on USGI guns. And that's like the M1911 US Army markings. We have like an ACW marking where you would have seen some Arsenal markings, duh. And we have like the NM trigger guard markings. I mean, there are just markings, the P proof mark.
Oh, I didn't
here.
actually see that. That's cool. What's the P?
It'd be just a proof mark from when the guns were built back in the First World War.
Okay.
So to me, that's really cool. And again, it's the little details, in my opinion, that really set Alchemy Custom Weaponry homage guns apart from other folks. And I'm not really here to bash on anyone else, but I just think that we do it the best.
Yeah, well, there's perks to having someone like you on a project like this who really nerds out on 1911 history. And I mean, I know that you studied 1911s unlike, pretty much anyone studies anything in the world. So you know your shit.
Well, I got to give a big shout out to Nick Morrow. Nick actually did quite a bit on this gun as well. It seems to me that the GWA era guns are something that really trips his trigger. So Nick actually really put a lot of effort in, and Nick does our markings typically. I work with Nick, and he draws them up. And so I got to give a big shout out to Nick on this particular gun because he really took it over the top.
Good job.
Good job, Nick.
Good job.
Which I don't think I have ever in my life done that.
Good job.
Good job, Nick. Anyways, but man, when you tie it all together, all the little details, the colors, the markings, to me, that is a really special gun and really highlights one of the last professional fighting forces that used the 1911s seriously. And that's cool as shit.
Absolutely.
Sorry.
Okay, everyone. Next drill we're going to run here. Good old head-to-head. You're up 1-0 to 0 right now. Even though we both had good runs, you just happen to smoke and fucking burn it down. Gordon style on that. So what we're going to do is now on the second drill, we're at 25 yards, shooting steel, a small steel, I mean, that's like...
It's A-zone for sure.
It's A-zone. I mean, that's an A-zone steel.
For sure. And it's not painted.
No.
And it's on a background the same color.
Yeah, it's, you know, not perfect conditions, but at 25 yards, 3 rounds on steel for time. So it's like, hey, you can shoot fucking 10 rounds if you want. Your score is the time it takes to get 3 rounds on steel.
I thought it was just for shooting 3 rounds.
I might miss 3 rounds.
Dale Earnhardt, a proper racing car driver. Stock car, actually. What are you looking at? What are you looking at your watch for?
Checking the time.
You don't need to check your time. Shooter ready? Stand by. Oh, that was good. 4:15.
It's competitive.
Yeah, give me the gun.
That's you can just shoot that mag if you want.
Well, I'll just top it off.
You don't need to. I hit 3 rounds. You got fucking 5 left. You saying it's gonna take more than 5 rounds?
I mean, you know, you never know. Should I shoot it one-handed?
If you want to lose, sure.
Okay.
Yeah. Ricky Bobby does what he wants to do, man. I'm just Cal Knott Jr. over here.
Okay.
Before you bake it, you gotta shake it.
No. You shake it before you bake it.
Well, and what I said is actually also true. Before you bake it, you gotta shake it. You ready?
Oh!
What'd I say? 5-4-5.
I did it one-handed.
Oh! Well, I did it one-handed. Is that what Earnhardt would say when he lost races?
Hell yeah, probably.
I was driving it one-handed. Doesn't count.
I tried to be fancy. It's all right. It's all right.
It's 1-1 now.
I just thought for the excitement we should be even going into the final round.
Oh, okay. So your one hand is better than my combined 2.
Correct.
Okay. Okay, everyone. We'll see how it goes. Delta, if you guys are recruiting, you want experience on your side. You want experience, not ego. So maybe show your one that you brought that's like pretty
it's like,
close
it's
example.
It's exactly
I don't want to put words in your mouth, but
no, this right here is one that Larry Vickers built for me. It's literally Caspian slide frame. The only difference from my actual work gun that I had is there's a Dawson rail that I actually put on a little bit later. But this is these drips, the three yellow dots. Yellow was my team color for all our bags. Were marked with a yellow piece of tape. So that's why these came right off my gun. All the internal parts that we could use are in this gun from my original gun. I just swapped them out. I had the parts when I turned in my gun.
Super cool.
The triggers from my original, the mag release. I took everything I possibly could, and I put it in the gun. But it's just a 5-inch gun. This one has a listen. This has one of the barrels that Larry had made in Australia, and I didn't get a cart in it. I wish I had, because it would have been 100% correct. But they're exceptionally good barrels. But otherwise, the gun is literally like minus this rail. You could look at a picture of this in my freaking vest or in a thigh rig, and it would be identical.
And so what? I mean, so Magwell, pretty common.
SA
that was the pretty.
Yeah. SA Magwell was the standard tritium front sight, the narrowest tritium front sight you can get. Bomar rear.
Ambi safety too.
Yeah, ambi safeties. Everybody had ambi safeties that I know of. I know some older guns that were built off Colts that guys didn't, because they didn't really care. They're like, I'm fine, and like if I switch hands, I can hit it with my thumb, whatever. I just don't think it was. I know it wasn't really. There wasn't really a lot of support hand shooting in our training, other than what came from sport shooters that came in. Like we didn't train a bunch on support hand shooting. We just didn't. It wasn't a thing. But all the guns came with ambi, so it was a right or left-handed gun, other than the magazine release.
Well, and like you said, I mean, you get as a lefty. I'm like, hey man, if I've got an ambi safety, that's all I need
really.
to run a 1911.
And I think that's what I think they came to the same conclusion you did. It's like, as long as you have an ambi safety, the rest of the gun is easy to manage.
Everything else is trigger finger. Trigger fingers, dropping mags, dropping slides.
I know guys that have had 1911s and gotten left-hand mag releases, And they were like, I was better with the right hand. Like it was.
Well, because on a lefty gun, a lot of times what people don't necessarily get, and we're off topic, but whatever. But it's just like we know how to run a gun that is presented to us, and then you say, hey, but we're going to make a gun for you, it's like, well, you're actually changing my whole damn manual of arms.
Exactly.
It's like, I actually knew how to run your gun better than my gun. Like,
it's the same way for me with M4s or ARs or stoner-based guns. I learned how to shoot left-handed after I lost my eye with a left side safety and mag release. And so I run an AR left-handed with a traditional left side selector better than I run it with an ambi. I have ambis on all my guns. If for some reason in a sport match I'm left-handed, I'll still run it left-handed with the pad. I use the pad at the base of my index finger to take the safety off and then hook it back up. I don't need that safety on the right side, which is kind of interesting because when I do try to do it, I feel all awkward. I'm like, I'm trying to do something that I haven't tried to do before.
It's not native. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
It's not native motion. Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the coolest, so it's funny. We can go down this path for a minute. So I happen to be talking to a buddy of mine who is a buddy, but I mentioned this notion of like the unit training with competition shooters, and he was kind of like, "Oh, that's not a thing." I was like, "I'm 99.9% sure this is a thing.
It's a big thing."
And I think it's interesting because, hey, at that time, that world, and I mean even to an extent these days, was running 1911s, and even within that, comp guns having a place. And kind of chat the impact of that down to the operator level, because that was pretty fascinating stuff.
Yeah, because we brought in, like I said, we brought competitive shooters in to train us, and it's something that I don't think people understand, and it's what makes that organization extraordinary in a lot of ways and extraordinarily talented in ways that a lot of other organizations aren't. And that's because we bring people in that do whatever it is you do. Like we had a South African champion dirt bike racer come in. I was on a mobility team, so we had that.
Cool.
He's just going to teach us dirt bike stuff. We had race car drivers come in. We had they had parkour people come in for urban climbing.
No shit.
Yeah, if you're genuinely world class at something,
we want to know.
We want to know. Don't tell us how to use it. Just tell us how you do it and show us how you do it. Teach us something that you're great at that we don't know how to do or we're not nearly as good at, and then we'll apply it as we see fit.
Yeah.
But that is a common thing when it comes to shooting. That I'm pretty convinced. I can't say definitively, but I'm 99% sure that we're the first unit, special operations unit, that really leaned on competition shooters, world-class competition shooters, to come up with new training for our guys, because it's not tactics, it's shooting is shooting. And so they're not teaching us, Rob Latham or Jerry Barnhart or Mike Voigt or Frank Garcia, or nowadays you got JJ Racaza or Ben Steger's been in there. There's lots of guys that have been that have gone in the compound and trained people. They're not teaching tactics.
Vehicle tactics.
Yeah, it's like no, just teach us, like, you shoot faster than we do. Teach us how to shoot faster. That's it. Like we don't need the rest of it. We're good. We're good. We got it. And so, being able to bring those people in and have them understand, we don't want you to try and sell us what you think we're trying to buy. We just want you to sell us what you already know how to do. How do you do this as fast and accurate as you do? Show us how to do it. And it's changed. I mean, it's one of those things that it's been decades in the making, but as I understand, I mean, I'm obviously not there now, but as I understand, the shooting program is unbelievable. It's just literally unbelievable. It's like, I had a guy that I know tell me that the only place that you would go in the Army that would have probably a stronger shooting program would be like AMU. I mean, and so it's like they have a very, very well developed over multiple decades shooting program that's all about speed and accuracy. Yeah, it's all about speed and accuracy, and so. Well,
and that's a conversation I was having with my buddy is like, in what scenario where someone who uses a gun professionally, what's the scenario where he doesn't want to be able to be faster and more accurate?
Yeah, it doesn't exist.
It's an insane concept. Yeah. Of course he wants to be faster.
Yeah, it's like a football player reaching a certain point and go, I don't need to be stronger or faster.
Yeah.
No, that's not true. No. Like, you always want to be stronger or faster. You always want to be faster and more accurate. I look at it as a crutch. People are like, they're comfortable where they are and it's like they don't understand it.
Yeah.
But what's happened as well as things have progressed. Shooting if you look, I mean, if you dig into the USPSA side and you start looking at standardized drills, the classifiers that they have, and you look at scores and times, how fast people shoot and how accurately people shoot now is unbelievable. It's effectively at the top tier levels, the guys that win the nationals and the guys that shoot in the world shoot and win the world shoot, which we have a bunch of every year. It's an Olympic sport. You're talking about Olympic level performance out of people, and that's why we were fortunate as a military organization to kind of be on the ground floor of that and grow with it, because we were known for that. That organization is known for pistol shooting, like worldwide.
I actually think historically it's pretty interesting to note that the time frame when Delta, you said 77, right? When Delta started? Well, you have the rise of IPSC, which the Columbia Conference was in 76. And so Delta, it's kind of interesting historically that Delta and IPSC kind of parallel each other. And that top tier shooting kind of through the 80s and 90s. So that's a very interesting kind of a note.
Yeah, and the mid 80s is when the shooting program really, like, it started to jump into the high performance shooting side. These are, guys that were there when it was happening are the ones who told me. It's like that's when they started bringing in professional shooters, and they started going, wait a minute, these guys shoot way faster and more accurate than us. How do we do that? And that was a quantum like shift towards the performance shooting side. And then you started seeing it, all through the rest of the 80s. After, you had Panama, and then you had, Somalia, you had Mogadishu, and now you have, a handful of guys in a hostile city, like, doing disproportionate damage and taking disproportionately few casualties compared to what has gone on historically in any battle that is comparable. To only effectively, I mean, it was a shame that we lost them, but to lose 5 guys. And to have done the damage that they did is testament to their training and all the rest, but their ability to shoot. Because at that point, there's not all that much tactics going on. There's just a lot of shooting going on, a lot of high performance, high speed shooting going on. With limited resources, you only have so many bullets. Like, you have to make them count. So that in its own right was really a validation of the efficiency. And then you go all the way fast forward now to the operators they create now, and you look at Venezuela. It's like, I mean, you see some of the first-hand reports from Venezuelans, and they're like, they had no idea. Like, might as well have been space aliens that landed.
Okay, here we go. Next evolution, we are going to go. We're at about 10-ish, 10, 12 yards, somewhere in there. So we're going to go build drill. Okay, you're going to go to a slide lock reload at that point. You're going to move to our second position over there. So you're going to do your reload on the move. When you get to second position, 3 rounds, also center mass. So 9 total rounds. A-zone center mass the whole time.
Stand by.
Okay, we definitely got a couple flyers.
Time is 10:65.
10:65. We've got a C-zone, so it'd be 12:65.
Yep.
Would be raw time. Okay, that's very beatable. It's a very, very beatable time. Frankly, not bad shooting, just I still think very beatable. Oh, this is competitive. 937. I think you threw.
I threw 2 like you did on that side. So
1137. Damn, you got me, but by a tiny margin. Damn, that was actually a very competitive run.
Yeah.
We're actually very competitive on these runs today.
Sick.
We're fairly even shooters today, generally speaking. You have won, I concede, but it is competitive. A little bit of drama on set here, everyone. Went to mark up the paper, and what we have discovered is my 2 misses, whichever 2 were marked, Eli's 2 were marked, and what we have here was a third Duckworth miss, which means our time, instead of being 11:37, is 12:37. Now that is within, I don't remember my exact time, but I mean,
look it up.
neck and neck. I mean, the data
Look
will
it up.
show, but I think the data is going to show. I might have actually pulled this off.
Look it up.
This is
What would it be? A 12 what?
12.37.
I think yours was I don't know what it was. I'd be lying if I said I knew.
But you're nervous.
I am a little bit. Yeah. You've gotten a lot better shooting, actually.
What the fuck does that mean? The fuck?
Just
The fuck does that
I'm talking
mean?
about when we shot revolvers that one day.
Oh, because I had one bad day?
I'm just saying.
I'm gonna hear about my one
I'm
bad
just
day
saying.
for the fucking
I hear about
next
my bad
decade?
days all the time.
Jesus.
I just thought I'd remember yours too. All right, so a little bit of a fourth drill, if you will. 4. We're gonna start contact. You got 2 rounds in the A zone. Pretty self-explanatory. You're gonna retreat. Once you get to the grassy knoll, okay, that's a feature out here in the desert. You're gonna stand here, boom, boom. You do a reload. I don't really care if it's slide lock or, administrative reload. You don't have to retain the magazine. Then peek around, boom, boom, on the steel. 2 rounds.
Okay, I'm doing a
So-
slide lock reload.
Bang, bing, boom, bang, bing, bong. Oh, I forgot to do the reload.
Dirty fucking cheater.
Shit.
Is what it turns out he is.
I got a little too carried away.
Turns out he's a dirty
Damn, I'm sorry. I can do that again if you need me to.
481 with a miss, so it's 581 with 7 points deducted because of the
What
fail.
was the 7 points? Just don't do a reload on yours.
Oh, he says that now that I've set up my mags for the course of fire that he called out.
Well, set them up different.
Wow.
Set them up different.
Wow. Hold.
Listen, here's the problem is I didn't understand the course of fire that I wrote.
This you made up.
Okay. Shooter ready. Stand by. That was a 680
So
or
I won.
608. No, you
Six-
didn't.
Yeah, I did.
I didn't. I had 1 miss. That's a second.
You were 581 with a miss. That's 681.
What are you talking about?
You were 581 on your time. You add a second for a miss. That's 681.
I thought I was 4.8. I was 4.81.
581.
No, I wasn't.
Yeah, dog.
No, I wasn't. I was 4.81 and then a second adds.
And what about the deduction for sportsmanship?
What sportsmanship? Now there is no deduction because you didn't do a reload now.
I was following the rules that I was given. You
Right.
did not. Therefore, there's a deduction.
I am the rule giver. So if I change the rules within the drill,
Not
it is
how
now
it
the
works.
rules.
Not how it works. It was a clean loss. Accept it.
But I don't understand how are you getting 5. It was 4.81.
You're getting worked up like Earnhardt once he loses.
It's 4.81
581.
with the miss. You're at 608.
Exactly. My point.
I'm confused.
Don't make me.
What? How does that work? How? In what world is 581?
Look how good. Look how good I am. Okay, so on the competition note, there was kind of, and you even brought this up to me when we were starting to think about the video. You're like, man, there's this sort of almost urban myth that like in the unit they actually had comp guns.
Yeah.
And that appears fairly accurate.
Yeah, we had 1911s with compensators on them. Back when I was in there, they were issued. You got a 5-inch gun. You got a 5-inch gun with a comp on it, and they've messed around going forward. They had I think they had KKM comps on guns. They're always looking for a high performance accessory to maximize the equipment that they have, and so. I don't know where they are now with it.
Sure.
With 9mm guns, but now you're starting to integrate when you're talking about any kind of firearm. Now you're integrating those into night vision stuff and all that. So you've got to make sure if you're running compensators, it's a different game. We didn't have any kind of thermal stuff, and I don't believe that. I know that our Ambus 9s and stuff were nothing compared to the quads that they have now and all that. So it's just a matter of what works best for them, and then I think there's specialized requirements for different elements within the organization that do specialized things. And there's it's not like you go to the Rangers and they issue a gun. That's what everybody gets.
Yeah.
there's a lot of variations that are based on
Specialty tools.
Exactly, that are specialty tools based on specialty requirements.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean that's it. You know, like the MP7, that's one of the dings that it always gets. People are like, "Oh, it's not effective." Where it's like, the MP7 is a very specialty weapon.
Yes,
you know, it's
yeah,
like
it
understand what it is and what it isn't. It's like, hey, for a dog handler, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's not an offensive gun.
Right.
Even, regardless of what they say, because I mean, I tested the first ones we ever got. I was on the test team for that when they sent them to the unit. We had UMP 45s and we had MP7s. So all the little mods, there's a bunch of little mods that are on it now that weren't on the original one.
Sure, yeah.
Was our input, but it was specifically a very defensive,
It's PDW,
oriented. Yeah, it's PDW exactly.
Yeah. Anything else we haven't talked about that would be good?
Yeah, the magazines.
Actually,
we used. I was issued and still have Chip McCormick Shooting Star 8-round magazines that still work, that are decades old, and with metal followers. You used to be able to buy them for like $7. They're dirt cheap, and that was a primary magazine. A lot of guys, myself included, liked those because they didn't have a plastic step. The plastic step on the Wilsons would start to wear out when interfacing with a metal slide stop.
This one, yeah.
And so you'll start to see it bevel the corner. I shot those. I shot Chip McCormick's and I shot Shooting Star magazines with metal followers, and they work fine. You're always, one of the things that we're trying to maximize capacity, you're always kind of cycling through 10-round mags, and you'd have, what I ran into is, you would have ones that didn't lock to the rear. That was about it. They would feed, but they wouldn't lock to the rear. And with only a 10-round gun, especially with certain stuff that we did, you can't have that. You can't have a gun that doesn't lock to the rear.
Sure, yeah.
So it's like, that's time you don't have to waste. But otherwise, in 45 ACP, the single stack 1911 magazines are overwhelmingly pretty darn reliable. But yeah, the ones we had Chip McCormick mags, and we had Shooting Star mags, and I still have some in the house.
Super cool. Anything else you thinking of? I feel
No,
like we
I
covered
just,
a lot of ground here.
For sure. No, I think that I'm thank you again for coming and showing us these things, showing us your guns. It means a lot because, what we try to do at Alchemy Custom Weaponry is kind of tell these stories of 1911. And we're a 1911 company, but we try to tell these stories and, kind of educate next generation on some of this stuff. So it's really appreciative that you'd come out and talk about your experience with the 1911 with the unit. So, again, thank you.
Yeah, well, you're welcome.
Yeah, this is super cool. This is super cool. Now in a couple of weeks, we'd go shoot them on the range and
I'm excited.
burn it out.
I've got the Marsoc, the M45A1.
Oh yeah,
I've got an actual one, an actual contract, not an overrun, but a contract one.
That's badass.
Yeah, so I'll bring that out and shoot that.
People love to see that thing.
for
Bring
sure.
that thing out. For
Yeah,
sure.
and that's the one that I actually, when my guns were forward deployed, that's the gun I actually carried
Yeah,
for a live operation.
super cool.
Yeah, the only difference is it had an SNA mag, well, not that.
Yeah, I dig it. Yeah. Well, cool, man. No, I appreciate you coming out. This is cool. Stuff that's, info that's 1911 guys nerd out on, but it's also kind of tough stuff to find. So, appreciate it.
Thank you again for joining us. This is a really cool project, and actually, this video really is even more interesting just because this is the first time in resto-mod history we've had actually a subject matter expert to talk about the guns that we're bringing out, and hopefully that
which we tried to do on Face Off, and Nick Cage
Nick Cage was like, I'm booked.
He was booked.
I got.
We tried John Woo, and John Woo was like,
got a thing. He's petting doves probably, and I get that.
Bummer.
But
this one worked out well though.
This worked out well, and so I have to give a big shout out to Mike for being a part of this. This gun or this video, I'm not worried about moving guns. I'm really wanting to introduce people to something that is not really talked about as much as Delta is kind of like this weird shadow force where it's like we know about them, but we don't really know about them, especially on the heels of the issues in South America. Yeah,
I mean, they do wild stuff, but in many ways, because they are the true quiet professionals, there is a lot that is unknown in regards to gear, and even on doing the tour of the gun, we didn't say certain things because I'm like, hey, I don't know what Mike will or won't say in the video, and it's not my place to disclose certain things that we've heard in conversation. So, but hopefully you enjoyed it all. Hopefully this worked out. At this point, we're actually about to meet up with Mike and go film all the historical stuff. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you all so much for watching. We appreciate it.
Okay, we'll see you guys later.